And if you haven't seen this, no worries. On Wednesday, we'll do a recap. So thank you for joining us. So today, we're going to be having such a crucial conversation that I think every year when we have it, it's so successful. So let's have it again, right? Let's talk about mental health. And this time around, I have a guest that she has a lot of experience. I actually have seen her presentation with grief, and she has so many wonderful resources. So Miss Noemi Gomez, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
So she's coming from behavioral health. Some of you guys as parents know behavioral health because your students either work with behavioral health or they've been referred. So she's a resource that we go to on a regular basis here at the district, right, Mr. Ramirez?
Yes, yes. And Ms. Noemi, I
Mm-hmm.
was wondering if you can just talk a little bit about your background, where you're coming
Mm-hmm.
from, so people know your credentials, please.
Sure. So I am a licensed clinical social worker. So I'm licensed with the Board of Behavioral Sciences, the state. And my job is behavioral health supervisor. So I supervise the clinicians that provide services. My program is the Services to Education program. So my clinicians provide the services to students related to social emotional concerns in the school setting.
Hmm. Well, we're so happy to have you because we know mental health is so crucial, and I feel like we can't talk enough about mental health, and especially now, right? With the pandemic, with everything happening in the country, is talking about mental health is so crucial. So I want to share a little bit about my experience with mental health, Miss Noemi, if that's okay with you, because
Please.
I am a school counselor. I'm working as a school counselor. You work a lot with academics, and then I joined the Santa Rita district, and it was completely different. Here I deal with social emotional needs. So I actually have a caseload of about, I want to say, 20 to 25 students that I see on a regular basis, and then I provide services to the rest of the school. But my services here at Santa Rita, we do provide social emotional services, and I think this cafecito is so important because some parents don't know that. Some parents don't know the services that we do provide as a district. That we do provide social emotional services. We do classroom presentations. We work with the staff and provide them resources and whatever they need. So I feel so lucky to be with Santa Rita because I know other counselors don't get to do the same things that I do. And so I feel very, very lucky. So in having a case, Miss Noemi, I have noticed that, anxiety seems to be a topic that when we talk about social emotional needs, especially because me and Mr. Ramirez, we work with teenagers, right? We work with preteens and, teens. So, coming from working with high schoolers and elementary schools, the middle schoolers a little bit different, and their needs are very, very different. So something that I notice is that they deal a lot with anxiety, academic anxiety, but also social emotional anxiety. Like, are they gonna like me? Am I fitting in? And now with everything going on, they get worried about their family. They're more aware about their surroundings and things happening, around them. So I think anxiety is so big when it comes to mental health. So I don't know what your experience with anxiety has been.
I agree with you, Del. Given everything that's going on with the pandemic, distance learning, and being a middle schooler, that's a lot to take on. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot of stress. And so it's very common to see that stress turn into something more. So I want to just make a point that sometimes we have our bad days, and that's
Mm-hmm.
normal. And what you want to keep an eye on is that if these bad days turn into more days and they start affecting your school, your life at home, your
Mm.
friendships, that's when you want to take notice. As parents and caregivers, you are the experts of your child, you will know when something is off. So if something is off, then it's you want to take notice and take action. And well, we can talk more about how
Yeah.
to do that as
And
well.
I
But I
like how
definitely, yeah.
and I definitely like how you said stress, because sometimes it's so hard to know what anxiety really is because it's different for everybody. Everybody experiences anxiety in so many different ways that just talking about, yeah, it is some type of stress. It is feeling stressed, overwhelmed, you know by things that sometimes, the way I see it, they're out of your control. You don't really have control over the things that are creating this stress. Sometimes you do, like the friend drama and all that stuff, or not being around your friends, because that's also I know me and Mr. Ramirez talk about this from time to time, where students are stressed because they don't really have access to their friends. They're stuck home, and usually their outlet, their coping mechanism was a friend. Their coping mechanism for that stress or that anxiety was talking to a friend, and now that friend is not around. So even that, what are some tools that parents could utilize?
So I would say, first off, is role modeling healthy living. So, um, with like eating healthy, having a
Mm,
healthy sleeping schedule, and then managing stress in a healthy manner. That's a quick thing that you could easily do to show as a model to your child what to do when you're going through something difficult.
mm,
Um, yes, and then having, and especially during this time, having some structure, some routine in the house. Routine and structure is very helpful, especially
mm,
like you said, Itzel, there's situations, there's things that we can't control, but we can have some kind of a routine. We can have control over that, and that's very helpful with stress and anxiety. So having something planned out and even including fun things that you do with
mm,
your children, or they get to do, or relaxing things that you get to do maybe together, or you can have them do um, by themselves. Some ideas like that.
yeah, no, for sure. And I couldn't agree more. I think me and Mr. Ramirez actually started these cafecitos with routines. Just having a conversation about routines, because just knowing what to expect the next day is so big. Just knowing this is gonna happen tomorrow. I know what to expect, especially when things around you are so crazy. Those routines couldn't be more of a bigger deal. Creating those routines. And I know with middle schools it's hard. I hear from parents, it's so hard to make them go to bed on time, or it's so hard to get them to get up on time. And I know Mr. Ramirez is always telling the students, hey, wake up in the morning, take a shower, just pretend you're going to school, because you are going to school. And that's so big. And so with that anxiety, I know you mentioned that we need to monitor how many days we're experiencing, like, oh, I'm having a bad day, I don't feel like myself, and monitor that as a parent, right? So a lot of students are also saying, oh, that anxiety turns into depression, right? So I get so overwhelmed that I feel like I'm depressed. So what are some things that parents could be looking out when it comes to depression? What are some signs that they could be looking for?
Right. So with depression and anxiety, sometimes they can happen together, sometimes
Mm,
separate, but a lot of the times we do see that happen at the same time. And so with depression, things to look out for, of course, is hopelessness.
mm,
If your child is not interested in doing the things that they like to do,
mm,
um, if they're feeling agitated or low energy, low self-esteem, changes in their sleep and then their appetite is another one of a physical sign.
mm,
If you're noticing that they can't concentrate or they just don't have a lot of energy anymore, and then also maybe some physical aches and pains that they may not have had before, and then more of a extreme symptom or when you really need to go and get help is if they're saying that they have thoughts of suicide,
Mm-hmm.
meaning that they want to die, or, or and they're thinking about that. So that's a higher, more of a concerning symptom to that way. You definitely want to be connected with a mental health professional for
Mm-hmm.
supporting them.
And I think it's always a good idea to mention it to the teacher if you're, noticing any changes in behaviors, in things that were normal. Always mention it to the teacher because, like I said, schools do have resources. Most schools do have either a counselor on staff or a program that works with the district that they come in and provide counseling, because it's always to be better safe than sorry, right? Anything that changes, especially nowadays, I think it's so crucial to monitor, especially because we know their behaviors, right? Like I know me and Mr. Ramirez, when we talk about students that all of a sudden we have alerts for, or all of a sudden a teacher's coming to us and they're saying, oh, so and so's having an issue, and me, Mr. Ramirez, right away go, yeah, he was not in my radar. Oh, that's new. Like right away you realize, oh, that behavior was new. And I think I always want to highlight, I know this time is so crazy and just being stuck at home is not the ideal, but it also has some beauty in the fact that we could monitor those behaviors a little bit more closely, right? That we could really keep an eye on them because we see them more closely when before maybe we're stuck at the office, we're not really home as much, and now we are home. So that's the beauty of it. And right now it is winter, so I know a lot of the families watching this cafecito are home because they're not working. The season is over there in Yuma or in different places, so they're not really working, so they're home as well. So just monitor those behaviors, and if you ever are wondering, just come to us. Me and Mr. Ramirez, I know we have an open door policy, so come to us, run it by us, and we'll look for resources because that's the beauty. The community has resources, and a lot of people go through this, right? A lot of people, experience anxiety and depression at one point in their life, right?
Absolutely. It's very common, and it's actually in youth, 1 in 5 will experience mental illness like anxiety or depression. So it's very common. It's just like think about it like your physical health.
Mhm.
We That's something that we take care of. We go to the doctor and we try to eat healthy, have nice sleeping patterns, and
Mhm.
take vitamins or whatever. And it's the same with your mental health. Like we need to keep an eye on that and make sure that we're monitoring that as well.
And since you mentioned taking care of your mental health, I know I'm big on coping mechanisms, and I my biggest coping mechanism is I run. Right, whenever I'm not having a good day, you'll see me running as my coping mechanism. What are some things that people could do to take care of their mental health? Right? What are, because I know my other coping mechanism is journaling. I like to write things down. Reading is big because sometimes it's raining or sometimes it's ugly weather and I can't really be running. So I grab a book. But how do we take care of our mental health?
Well, you gave some really great examples, and I think the most important thing is to do something that you will enjoy. If it
Mm,
feels like a chore, it's not going to be as effective. So do something that you enjoy. So exercise is a great one because you're releasing the natural endorphins that make you feel good. So another thing that if you can do safely is like stay connected socially.
mm,
Um, that's a Having a social support network is a really great way to address any mental health issues. Also, just I mean, there's so many things.
mm-hmm,
I think about like um, deep breathing and also, like you said, journaling. It just anything healthy anything that's going to benefit you,
And I
that
think the
you
key,
enjoy.
anything that makes you feel good, right? Anything that you enjoy, because maybe to somebody else that's a chore, but I might love cleaning. So that's my coping mechanism because I enjoy it so much, organizing or whatever, So whatever you enjoy, I think that's the key. I love that. I love that you said that because it really is, whatever you enjoy. And Mr. Ramirez, I know we do have our PE teachers doing a great job of sending exercise. And I don't know if you want to talk to the parents briefly about that because I know they're telling me, oh, students are not doing anything at home. So I know the PE department is working so hard to, get that exercise going.
Yes, one of the things that we needed to make sure is that the kids were doing the exercises. So how do you show that you're doing the exercises? And a lot of kids, this environment, it's very uncomfortable for them. It makes them, it actually creates anxiety, right? I mean, usually when you're in a classroom, everybody's facing forward, facing the teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Here, you're actually like looking at people's faces, like right there. So a lot of kids feel shy about that. So they will turn off the camera, and the teachers do allow them to do that. But when it comes to PE, how can the teacher, like if it was a regular environment, they would be out on the yard and the
Yeah.
teacher would be directing the students to the exercises and the teacher can watch that. Well, we don't have that now. But one of the things that I thought it was really, really great that our teachers are doing is they will put out the assignment for the students to do. And then the student has to videotape him or herself, do the assignment, and then share that video, but only the teacher sees that video. Only the teacher
Mm.
sees that video and sees it to make sure that the length of time is covered, that the appropriate exercise was done, and then they get a grade on it. And we make sure we tell the kids that nobody else sees that video so they don't feel uncomfortable with that. So that
Mm.
is a really wonderful thing that I really like. So ask your kids, hey, are you
Yeah.
are you doing your PE? When are you doing it? I understand you gotta videotape yourself. And yeah, that's how we're doing it. And I think it's a great idea.
And even doing it with them, because I know we could all benefit, like Noemi said, from getting those endorphins going, getting that brain going. That even doing it with them. I know that back when we were actually physically with each other doing the cafecito, the parents would mention it's such a struggle to get them to read, and I would always tell you, then read with them, grab a book. Not make it like you go read in that corner for 30 minutes because that's what your teacher said. It's all about what Noemi said, right? About showing, about being the example and really showing your kids, okay, I understand you need to record it, let's do it together because I could use the exercise as well, right? And so I think, yeah, those coping mechanisms.
Yeah, and speaking of that, one of the other things we have found out is that YouTube is actually really helpful. YouTube has two particular PE related, activity related, exercise related programs that I really like that I would like to mention. One of them is called PE Joe. Is this gentleman in England who puts a 30-minute workout for families to do all together. And he's really, really good. People really enjoy doing that. And you can watch it. You can do it whenever it's good for you. And then the other thing is, so there's like some of the video games have dance games where you can dance, and there's a little video that, a little camera that watches you dance, and you get like points and whatnot. And that's a really fun way for families to challenge each other and, and do something together.
Fun.
And I know that Twitch from Ellen, a lot of the kids are familiar with him. He's very cool. He's very nice. He and his wife also put on videos on YouTube that are totally free, and you just follow them along, and they're very easy and they're very engaging and very fun. And next thing you know, you already danced for half an hour and you have fun and you feel good and you did a little exercise.
Yeah, and it's all about the fun. It's like Nami said, it's all about finding something that you enjoy. We can't say that enough. And with that being said, Nami, I do want to talk about grief briefly. I know that for Bolsonos, you guys had a wonderful presentation about grief, and I learned so much, and I know so many of our families are going through grief, as we speak, or for students, it's the first time that they have even dealt with the concept of grief. So, what are some of the things that parents could be, looking for? Because I know that grief sometimes, it also manifests as anxiety of, is my family gonna be okay, right? So, what are some things that the parents could be looking for?
Well, again, as any changes in what they typically do, their mood, their way of being, any changes like that, and being aware that if as of with right now, with being in the pandemic, like everyone is experiencing a type of grief and loss. It's not just when you
Yeah.
lose a loved one or a pet, it's losing the ability to do something.
Mm,
So I think maybe to some extent it's possible that people are still feeling that grief and loss, especially as we're coming close to a year of being in this type of distance learning. But just noticing any changes and then also being open to talking about that openly
mm,
with your child in a very in a way that they will understand. So it's helpful to be open and honest and be aware that they'll experience something different. Maybe if you have two children or more, they though there'll be differences in how each one experiences grief and loss. And
yeah.
then having that honest conversation, not saying that like if it's a loss of a person that they've gone to sleep, that actually could be very frightening, especially for younger children.
Mm-hmm.
So just again noticing any changes, and then if those changes are significant, they're lasting a long time, and affecting their school, their home life, and their social life, then that's when you need to reach out and get professional help.
Yeah. And and I love that you said, losing somebody is not the only form of grief, right? It's also when you lose your routine, you lose what you know. And like grief is such a big thing that it's not just losing a loved one, although a lot of families have, and we totally understand that. But for a kid, especially for a preteen, losing even that contact with their friends, that's grief on itself. And that's what me and Mr. Ramirez are witnessing as we work with students, that they're grieving, that social time, that they're grieving not being with their friends. And sometimes that manifests in anger, frustration, anxiety. Every kid is different, but I hear from parents, should I be having that conversation? Do I bring it up or do I wait until they ask? And I love that you said no, like definitely have that conversation, because the more information they have, I think the better. And that's why we put these cafecitos together, right? Because we know that having the information really, really helps. And that's why we want to record them as well, because we want to make sure that as you need these topics, you could come to them and review them, and hopefully they help you when you do need them. So Naomi, we can't thank you enough. This was such an awesome conversation. Like I said, parents, please join us on Wednesday, because I think this is gonna be an awesome live conversation on Wednesday. Take care of your mental health. Mental health, like Noemi said, it's a real thing, right? Just like
Yeah.
diabetes, just like cholesterol, just like anything else. Take care of your mental health and give yourself a break, because we're all struggling. Give yourself a break. We all are going through something at some level, whether it's small, whether it's big, but give yourself a break. And I think what I always tell my students is don't ignore those emotions, even for the parents. If you're feeling overwhelmed, you're feeling overwhelmed, and that's okay. So, Numi, anything else you want to add as we conclude today's cafecito?
I will be sharing a number of community resources, including a health access hotline for Monterey County Behavioral Health. And I will share that with Excel, and I'm sure it will be available on your website to take a look at.
Yeah, Mr. Ramirez, anything else you want to add?
Well, first of all, thanks so much for to Ms. Noemi Gomez for giving us her time and her expertise in this. This is a very critical time, and this is a very important topic. From the academic point of view, there's a lot of research that supports the fact that children are not able to really learn if there is any kind of anxiety, or if they feel stress, or if they're not calm. Um, and normally, it's fairly normal for students of this age, the preteens, to be going through a lot of angst just because their bodies are changing, socially they're changing, and but then we have the ability to work with them one-on-one here in person. With the distance learning, we have really lost that. So we there's been another barrier that is put between us, and now they also have a lot more time. Because they cannot be doing the activities that would normally keep them very busy. So all those things is not a good recipe. So this is very important. So parents, please, if you see something, say something, reach out to us. If we don't know something, we'll get you we'll put you in contact with somebody who can. And it's really, really important. And not only for the overall health of the kids, but also for their academics. You know, we want to make sure that their academics stay up to par, even through this whole distance learning. So again, thank you so much, Ms. Noemi. Thank you, Ms. Itzel. Very valuable stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you Wednesday.
See you Wednesday.